I'm Wendy and she's Yvonne. In this video, we are going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages on the reduction of the voting age. We are going to have 4 mini debate sessions to express our views on whether this move is desirable or not. Without further ado, let's dive into this topic. One of the pledges made in Pakatan Harapan's general election manifesto last year was to reduce the voting age from 21 to 18. The bill, which would affect about 4 million youths, was tabled by Youth and Sports Minister Syed Saddiq. In 2019, the amendment was approved by the Dewan Negara with a 2/3 majority just 10 days after the amendment bill was passed. Before the amendments, the voting age was governed by Section 119, Subsection 1, Paragraph A of the Federal Constitution of Malaysia, which stated that people are eligible to vote at the age of 21. This was amended by the Constitution Amendment Bill 2019, Article 119, Subsection 1 of the Federal Constitution, which reduced the age limit eligibility of voters from 21 to 18. The bill also seeks to lower the eligible age to increase the competition to serve as MPs and state assemblymen, as well as introducing automatic registrations as voter. The Election Commission is currently in the midst of planning for the full implementation of Undi 18 to ensure that an effective approach is put in place. This proposal of the reduction of voting age in Malaysia has successfully led to controversies among all the age groups. Before we start our debate, we have a question for you. Do we need someone who can vote for a better future,
or someone who takes the task lightly?
I will be talking about the advantages of reduction of voting age,
and I will be taking the stand against the reduction of voting age.
The government is prepared to allow early participation of young people in the political field. According to Section 15, Subsection 2, Paragraph A, Akta Universiti dan College University 1971, university students in Malaysia are allowed to be involved and discuss political issues. This is a manifestation of efforts to empower students and enable their voices to be heard and appreciated. As a result, youths will have early exposure to politics while still in the course of studying. Clearly, this is by no means that Parliament believed that university students possess the maturity, the ability to make right decisions, as well as considerably sufficient political knowledge for them to have passed the AKU 1971 Act.
Before I come to my own arguments, let us recall at what Wendy has said just now, and I would like to address that the Act that was mentioned was amended in 2012, and in Section 15 of Universities and University Colleges Act 2012, the students are subject to limitation under Section 15 subsection 2, where participation of students in political parties are allowed but not organizations which university deems to be detrimental to the interest of the university. So it's not entirely democratic. Students who contravene this will be liable to disciplinary action, including suspension.
In terms of democracy, if the young adults are allowed to vote, then it can be regarded as promoting democracy, although they are limited by the Act. Besides that, the Undi 18 would bring Malaysia in line with most countries in the region. According to research conducted by Batch Joe in 2019, about 86% of countries in the world already have 18 years as threshold voting age. So, why can't Malaysia be like these countries?
Yes, I understand, but my opinion is that Malaysia's educational system is not designed to expose students to politics, unlike other countries such as China and the UK, where they learn about politics in their high school. So it cannot be compared. Political scientist Muhammad Azizuddin from University Utara Malaysia said the government needs to think about political education for the young. He stated that before political studies are implemented to Malaysia's education system, it is better to stay with the voting age of 21. It is dangerous enough to let voters who have little to no knowledge to make a political choice. Simply because they are legally adult at the age of 21 years old, the situation would be worse if the legal voting age is to be brought forward 3 years earlier.
I think I've got your point. Let me now respond to it. In Malaysia, the age of adult threshold is held at 18 years old, as set down in the Malaysia's Age of Majority Act 1971. It's ironic that they enjoy other fundamental rights, such as the right to enter into contract, but are deprived of their voting rights. Therefore, they should be allowed to enjoy all the legal rights enjoyed by an adult at the age of 18, just as a right to vote.
Let me come to my third and last argument for this session. Letting them vote blindly without sufficient knowledge about the political environment in the nation is pointless after all, since voting blindly will certainly cause a huge uncertain and disrupting impact to the political situation. Take it as if you are buying stocks without having knowledge of the market. It is like gambling in the end.
The conclusion for our first debate would be that if Malaysia were to reduce the voting age, our education system has to change. For instance, by implementing political studies in secondary education itself. This is to ensure that early exposure of political skills to students. I think that they have enough experience about this society for them to make an informed decision. This can be seen in curricular activities in most of the high schools, which prepare the young adults to have a real-life experiences and exposure to this society. For example, through participation in Leo Club activities, students will be exposed to the society through community work. Also, they can gain experiences through organizing events which will cultivate leadership skills.
I don't agree with Wendy's point, as there's always a limit to the number of club members, so not all students will be exposed to such experiences. Also, 18 is an age where the majority of people at this age are still university students with little to no exposure in the working industry. Perhaps just taking their first step into society for those who quit studies. Hence, not having enough experience to make wise decisions due to the lack of experience.
Young people today are more knowledgeable than before as they have access to the latest political news and affairs through online news and articles. These are easily accessible on the internet. We cannot undermine the power of the internet and technology in allowing the exchange of all sorts of information, including political ones. Mohammed Hilmi Harif, a 17-year-old vocational college student in Bakok, Kelantan, said that age was not a barrier for the younger generation to understand the political scenario due to the technological advances.
Having considered the positive effects, negative issues may not need to be taken into account. People from this age are still living in a social influence bubble, where they might be easily persuaded by media or propagandas from various platforms. The news and media might also be biased, as humans usually are, may be misled into thinking with the perception of one side only. Hence, it's rather difficult to actually obtain news that is impartial so that their judgments do not get swayed or clouded. 71% of their information was obtained from social media. Dr. Amiruddin lamented that, to make it worse, 63% of Malaysians could not distinguish between rumours and good journalism. We can say that despite having all the information at the fingertip, it doesn't mean that people at this age know how to filter the information before jumping to conclusion.
The existence of scholarly articles which are less likely to be misleading will ensure that students do not access to wrong information. It is just a matter of finding the right resources. With this, they will be able to make their own decisions.
I can see what you are saying. Here's my reply. Youngsters nowadays tend to have herd mentality, so if they ever discuss this topic of who to vote among their friends, they might all just end up voting for the same party. Youth might also be easily influenced by other voters, like family and friends. Therefore, it doesn't really make any differences whether or not they are given the right or wrong information, as at the end of the day, they will still follow the majority, which defeats the whole purpose of voting. So vote is to take a stand on what you believe in, and to find out what you believe in, you need time and knowledge. Most people finish their high school by the age of 17. So it is better to have them explore and know more about society and politics over the years before choosing a side. With that being said, if the legal age for voting remains at 21, within the 3 years gap from 18 to 21, people would be exposed to having to make decisions in their own accord.
Here is the point I would like to raise. Age cannot be the yardstick to measure someone's maturity as it is due to exposure to the world at large and one's experiences. The participation and involvement of youths as young as 18 are encouraged by the government, specifically the Malaysia Association Youth Council. They believe that youth as young as 18 are mature enough to think critically and make the right decision. For instance, the Minister of Education has implemented higher level thinking skills, HOTS, in school-based assessment since 2016, such as the introduction of KBAT, which is aimed at producing highly productive individuals with creative thinking, logical thinking, reflective thinking, and metacognitive skills.
In contrast to your point, social scientists pointed out that youths would be incompetent voters because of their brain. Specifically, the prefrontal cortex is still developing and undergoing several processes of reconstruction. This research was carried out by Chan and Clayton in 2006, which is recently. This incompetency in making proper political judgments can potentially deliver negative effects on the general public's interest.
At the age of 18, youths already have the ability to think for their own future, such as choosing the subjects which they're interested in and they want to achieve in the future. No matter how much they know about politics, they will still be exposed to the articles and latest news of politics in Malaysia through social media and online articles. With this, we can assume that they are mature enough to make wise decisions.
Young people do not have long-standing loyalties to ideologies that the older generation have. They tend to have myopic views and are more skeptical about the things that they received in the short term. In simple terms, they are more wedded towards issues that matter most to them. This will increase the chances of bribery. A great example of a political party indirectly buying up votes would be through cash transfers like BR1M to rural areas. However, this problem applies to all other age demographics too. Perhaps the reduction of voting age to 18 would further magnify this issue.
I do not agree with you that young people have no long-standing loyalties. As we can see in a lot of daily life examples, young people are extremely loyal to the things they believe in. For example, they are loyal to the clothing brands they wear or to the band they are listening to. They can sometimes go the extra mile due to the fire and passion inside their young blood. They also take friendships very seriously and are extremely loyal to their friends. In this case, I believe that once the young have set up their mind to support a particular party of their like, they will stick to it.
One of the undeniable facts is that people at this age are easily swayed by mob mentalities such as cancel culture and, most importantly, to act before verifying information. It is dangerous enough to let voters who have little to no knowledge to make a political choice, simply because they are legally adult at the age of 21 years old. The situation would be worse if the legal voting age is to be brought forward 3 years earlier.
Therefore, the statement that young people today are more ready to get involved with politics as compared to the older generation due to the presence of internet is only true to a certain extent. However, we cannot deny the fact that they are still not ready to vote due to the incapability of thinking for themselves and being impartial from external influences. Increasingly interested in politics. There are quite a handful of teenagers at the age of 18 who are very knowledgeable and are actively taking part in the field of politics. For example, a friend of mine is an official member of the DAP, and he has been taking part in a lot of regional meetings and political meetings. Through this, he is as experienced and qualified as any other member who is older than him to be in voting the election. There are a lot of youths who are devoted to become a politician in the future and contribute to the Malaysian society. For example, Syed Saddiq became a Malaysian politician and activist as young as at the age of 25.
I have to make it clear that the Malaysians that you referred to just now are just the minority of the young adults. Many do not attach much importance to Malaysia's politics. Politics are not part of their main focuses at the age of 18. Some students between 18 to 19 who were interviewed said that they are more into their studies right now. From this, we can see that since it is not their main focus right now, they will not care to update themselves about the current political situation, hence not having sufficient information for them to make informed decisions.
Young people need to be able to have their own say in their own country in order to cultivate a strong sense of patriotism. This is because their involvement will make them feel important, and therefore they are more likely to devote themselves to the country. We need these young bloods to lead and to bring about changes for the betterment of Malaysia. Instead of moving away from Malaysia, young people should stay back and contribute to their own country.
One of the major problems among this age group is the Western culture movement. Youths nowadays are more inclined to politics in other countries, especially the USA, and they pay fewer attention to the politics in Malaysia. The best and most recent example would be the Black Lives Matter movement in the United States and the Sabah's elections, which happened recently in Malaysia. From here, we can see that the youths are more responsive and willing to take the initiative to update themselves about the news regarding the matters in USA, whereas they did not react much about the Sabah's elections.
It is likely that improvements will be made to the country due to the intensified competition for the upcoming General Election 15. It will incentivize political parties to initiate early interventions and programs to endear themselves to the new voters before the general election, such as creating more employments. This will help retain youths from migrating to other countries for the reason that, Malaysia is not good enough. According to the survey conducted by the International Republican Institute, Malaysians between the age of 18 to 35 is especially concerned about the economic growth of the country. 49% of Malaysians in that age group think the national government should highly prioritize the economy, while majorities believe that the government is doing a bad or a very bad job. To tackle this problem would be a huge step for the political parties to win over young voters, as those are the central problems that they are concerned with.
From the statistics of desire to live in another country by age group, we can see that the younger generation tend to have the thoughts of migrating to other countries, and most of them were not sure on whether they are ready to vote. Hence, even if they are eligible to vote, they will just register for the sake of voting without knowing the purpose of doing that, as it is likely for them to have the mindset that no matter who they vote for, the results will not affect them anyways. Many votes will be going into wastage because there's a possibility of youth thinking they do not know much about voting and give up on their votes. Imagine if everyone has the mentality that their vote wouldn't make a huge difference on the results.
As a conclusion, both of us disagree with the reduction of voting age in Malaysia. Malaysian young adults are still in a doubtful phase to vote in the next election due to the poor rate of respondents who verified their readiness to vote. This can also allay fears of parents who might be thinking that their children would neglect their education should they decide to play an active role in politics. We also think that this is against our tradition, as Malaysia is fundamentally a gerontocratic society, where the country is ruled by leaders who are significantly older than most of the adult population and also being paternalistic. A sudden change in this practice or mindset will lead to criticism such as lack of maturity and knowledge to get involved in the political process. However, if it must happen, policies should be introduced in tandem with it in order for the decision to change Malaysian society for the better. Policies such as including political studies in the syllabus will help to inculcate civic values of democratic participation at an early age. It is important as these future leaders of our country need to have the sense of accountability and responsibility for our nation, Malaysia. They require political skills as well as efficacy to be able to lead. Hopefully, through education, we will be able to produce a generation of political thinkers and highly intellectual individuals who will be compatible to compete in the global arena.